I only agreed to do this for one reason only, and it's to show you the very final slide, which I actually just wanted to show 20 times, actually. I would have gotten away with that. I'm Phil from Arts Council England. Before we get to that slide, I'm going to show you some extracts from our very exciting... Oh, I see we haven't started yet. This should be interesting. Very interesting extracts from our recently published Achieving Great Art for Everyone, which is a strategic framework for the arts. And that's there, as much as anything, just to remind myself that we have, I think, a very clear plan of where we're trying to get to over the next 10 years. Now, my job at the Arts Council is looking at strategies and policies, particularly around Goal 2, so to try and get more people and different people to become engaged in the arts. Our mission, in case you missed it, is Great Art for Everyone. And you can imagine Viv was still having those conversations about, well, certainly, what does great mean, and what do we mean by art? And also kind of honest conversations about how close we can get to the everyone bit of our mission. And we know an awful lot about the public and who engages in the arts and why they engage in the arts, and also some of those barriers, the things that can stop people engaging in the arts. But I think we have to also feel, I think, very proud of the impact that all of us, I would like to say, in this room have had over the past 15, 20 years, that audiences on the whole, the trend has been upwards. And we've actually made quite a bit of an impact around getting a wider audience as well. But we do know that there are still quite a lot of people, depending on where you live in the country, and your social background, your economic background, and whether you did a degree or not, these things, in my opinion, in a disproportionate way, will still have an impact on your relationship with art. And so, the next slide you're about to see is about the barriers to engagement. I've been working in the arts, thanks to Viv, actually, for about 20 years or so. And some of the first focus group work that I did came up with these responses, and yet this is some feedback from a very recent focus group, actually with people who are already engaged in the arts. So we know there are still some huge challenges, and this suggests that we might have to think quite radically differently about what we're going to do to engage the everyone. And by we, I do mean the Arts Council. So I'm just going to, of all the things I could talk about, highlight a couple of those things. And they are how we do enter into more of a partnership. I think we've been talking about that quite a lot with the public, and also distribution and where are those opportunities to engage in the arts. I'm just going to name check a couple of organisations. Next time I'll use Sarah, some of your slides actually, but the Stratford East and the Theatre Royal in York are both handing over their programming to members of the community, which is obviously a very extreme version of that. Likewise, a lot of artists live and breathe this way of working. So John McGrath, who is a personal hero of mine, who's recently established National Theatre of Wales, just intuitively works in this way and can enter into genuine partnerships with local communities, whilst at the same time getting that recognition from peers and from critics nationally and internationally. So the other thing that I mentioned was around touring and distribution. The Arts Council, when it was set up 60 odd years ago, one of the reasons was to move things around the country, basically. And I actually think, I don't think we're as good as that as we used to be. There's still too much concentration in London. I think 40% of the audiences for our companies that tour are actually based in London. And of course, touring isn't just about, or distribution isn't just about moving live things around the country. So what's the role of digital and new technologies? And I admit to being one of those people that thinks that the shared live experience is something quite special and feel quite protective of it. And yet you see work like Blast Theory that provide very intimate and compelling experience, and I can feel this conflict within myself. So huge challenges there and things that we are coming to terms with. So the next few slides, I just want to give you an overview of some of the tangible things that we want to support over the next 3 or 4 years. I actually feel very optimistic about the future. We're setting aside strategic lottery funds to support Goal 2, and I'm just going to give you a run through of the kind of things that they're going to support. These are going to be available to cover these kind of things. These we've identified as being some of the key areas and some of the gaps, and they'll be available from next year. So there will be a fund to encourage more live touring around the company, as well as working in traditional venues. That will be able to look at pop-up art and site-specific art as well. There will be a fund to support digital, and that's both digital distribution, digital engagement, and also digital arts as well. We're looking at campaigning. What can we learn from other sectors about that collaborative working to demystify the arts and reach a broader audience? This slide is here that we don't want to keep reinventing the wheel. I actually think maybe it's not that we need to do things radically different, it's just that we need to be bigger and better, that good practice doesn't very often become common practice. So how can we support that to spread around the country more effectively? We also want to look at quality of experience. This is, in particular, I suppose, looking at how the arts can move to using more practical approaches to demonstrating and understanding quality of experience, and that's partly so the Arts Council isn't constantly just talking to Treasury in terms of numbers of audience, which I would say are also important as well. And possibly the most exciting development over the next 2 or 3 years is our merger with museums and libraries, which is something I feel very passionate about, and from an audience perspective just represents a huge opportunity. So those practical things we're going to be working across this new cultural footprint. But the final slide is not actually the next one, it's the one after, but I'll start talking about it now. Everything I'm talking about should sound very familiar because it's drawn from conversations I've had with most of the people in this room, and it's been influenced by the audience development agencies. And when I first came to work in the arts 20 years ago, Arts Marketing Hampshire was here, and I've since been working with Audiences South. And those individuals have helped me in my thinking, and I think all of us as well. And the reason that I wanted to come today was to say thank you to those people, to those individuals, and also that we will still be working together in some form as individuals. So I really want to say thank you, and I'm looking forward to the next few years. Thank you.